Happy Wednesday, or whatever day it may be when you're watching this video. I'm Randy Baker, your certified financial educator, and we put the emphasis on educator and not advisor as we continue on our journey to eradicate financial illiteracy and to spread as much financial literacy, education that we can, information that wasn't taught in school. Your advisor or broker probably didn't talk to you about it. Mine didn't talk to me, and that's how we got to where we are in trying to spread this message to anyone who's willing to listen. Today, we're going to talk about your 401k, and we're going to talk about why your 401k may not be functioning the way that you intended for it to. If you've seen in the headlines, you've seen Charles Schwab and a number of other financial advisor firms that have sent out directives to their clients with a warning that the old, 4% withdrawal rule may not work going forward, and that you really need to take a serious look at reducing that back to 3.5%, 3.6, or something to hedge against running out of money. There are three phases in your financial journey. The first phase we call the accumulation phase, and that's when you're working, you're saving, you're investing, maybe bought a home, you're trying to increase the equity value in your home, but you're amassing wealth. The second phase is the protection phase, and that's when you get a little older, you're not taking as much risk, you're a little bit more conservative, and you're effectively building a barrier around the wealth that you have accumulated. And then the third phase is the deaccumulation phase. And again, a critical phase that probably doesn't get as much attention as it should. If you look at people trying to climb Mount Everest, and you see how many people die each year, what you learn is that the majority of people die on the descent from the mountain. And the reason is when they're climbing the mountain, a lot of preparation, a lot of strategy, a lot of detail, a lot of resources, just a lot of planning to reach the summit, which is the goal. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't put the same amount of thought, planning, and detail in coming down the mountain, and that's when they're exposed to greater risk. Your financial journey is essentially the same risk. So, what puts downward pressure and affects the performance of your 401k? Well, everybody knows that market volatility is the number one. A market downturn in retirement can deplete your portfolio too quickly, especially when coupled with taxes and fees that are associated with it, and you may not have time to recover, especially if you're a little bit older. If the market goes down 10%, you effectively have to have an 11.1% rise in the market to get you back even. If the market were to drop 30%, then you need a 42.9% increase just to get you back to square one. And heaven forbid, you have a 50% collapse, then essentially the market has to double, or you have to have a 100% increase in value just to get you back to square one. And that math is scary when you put it on paper. The other things that affect you are the rising cost, higher inflation, increase in taxes. These things erode your purchasing power and has an effect on your lifestyle. A lot of times not calculated into your projections. We also have to deal with the increased cost of healthcare, which is affecting everyone. When you do get into retirement and you got your 401k, Social Security, you're in a pretty inflexible spending environment. And unless you spent your whole life living on a budget, a lot of times, this living on a budget, especially when it's unpredictable, is more uncomfortable than you'd like for it to be. So what are your choices? We already said, number one, just reduce the amount you pull out to 3.5%. You're just taking less money. You can constantly adjust your withdrawal. If all of a sudden you have an awesome time in the market for a year, you might take a little more money. Then the market gets kind of stagnant and you got to take less money. But you constantly have to reevaluate your position. A set it and forget it just isn't a smart strategy when it comes to your 401k and in retirement. A better strategy, which is why we're here today, is to learn about some of the more modern alternatives that are available to you. Your broker or advisor may not have shared them with you. It certainly wasn't shared with me. And most likely because these modern alternatives aren't as lucrative as the fees for managing and selling 401ks and IRAs. But these are resources that wealthy people use all the time to accumulate and more importantly, to protect their wealth and protect their income going forward. Um, None of this stuff is secret. It's just that most people don't know about it because nobody told you about it. If you're in middle America, Goldman Sachs is not calling you and JP Morgan's not calling you. But the wealthy use this to lock in their gains, and you eliminate 100% of the downside risk. Once you use some of these modern strategies, your dollar is never going to be 99 cents ever. They also provide guaranteed income for as long as you're alive. And on the surface, it may sound too good to be true. And honestly, it did to me the first time I heard about it. But then you look into it and you find that it's a contract. It's not a proposal. It's a contract, and there are multiple options. And they're by the most respected financial institutions and most powerful financial institutions in the United States, if not the world. One of my favorite is it's a 100-year-old company, and everybody knows the name. And we're not here to advertise or promote one over the other, but just to let you know that they are defined contracts that tell you exactly what you're going to get. So there's no secrets. For example, you can take all or part of a 401k and roll it into one of these new vehicles. So let's just say you take $200,000 and you roll that over. Well, it pays you a 30% bonus on day one. So your 200,000 automatically picks up another 60,000. So now it's worth 260. And that becomes the basis of calculating your income. Well, the second thing is guaranteed compounded interest for 9% for up to 12 years. Again, it's not a projection. That's what the contract says. So you get a 30% bonus, you get 9.5% interest up to 12 years. The downside is once you roll it, you can't touch the money for 1 year. But anytime between the second year and the 12th year, as your money's growing at 9.5% per year, you pick the time when you want to begin withdrawing your money, and there's a fixed amount of income. Well, once you start drawing that income, it's guaranteed for as long as you are alive. Even if you happen to live longer than you anticipated, and let's just say you deplete the account to zero, well, the contract continues to pay you the same amount of guaranteed income for as long as you're on the earth. I don't understand why no one ever showed that to me, but that is what it is. So this is just one of the alternatives to, the old set in stone way of living on your 401k. I can tell you this, the risk of not exploring these options is not nearly as great as the certainty that you will remain at risk. If you'd like to have the information, all you have to do is call us. You can call 833-494-6669 and say, hey, could you send me that information about the 401k alternatives? If you'd like to speak to someone when you call, we'll make sure that you got somebody to talk to. We'll give you the details. If you want to email me and have me just send you the information, happy to do that anytime. My email is randy@rcb-as-in-boy-management.com. Just say, hey, can you send me that stuff on the 401k alternatives, and we'll get it right out to you. So hope you have a great day. Keep learning, and we'll keep sharing. See you next time.